The jungle was alive with strange sounds. High above, the sky glowed red as two suns began to sink. Thick vines hung from massive trees, and the air smelled of wet earth. Somewhere far away, a beast roared, shaking the leaves. Ethan Cole moved. Quietly between the shadows, his boots barely touched the ground, his breath steady. He had been tracking the creature for 3 days. It was fast, clever, and dangerous. Many of the alien tribe had tried to kill it, but none had returned. Ethan was not like the others. He was patient. He was human. And patience was his weapon. In the treetops, a pair of golden eyes followed his every move. The alien huntress Zariah crouched low on a thick branch, her silver skin shimmered in the fading light. She had been watching this human since he entered her hunting grounds. At first, she thought he was lost. Then she saw the traps he set, the way he read the ground, the way he paused to listen to the forest. It was not luck guiding him, it was skill. Zariah was curious. No human had ever hunted like this, and in her tribe, a hunter's skill was life itself. Ethan stopped near a muddy clearing. The prints were fresh, massive claw marks dug deep into the soil. He knelt and touched the ground, feeling the warmth. The beast had passed here minutes ago. He slowly pulled out a spear made from a strong alien alloy. It had taken him weeks to trade for it. Every muscle in his arm tensed as he listened. Somewhere ahead, the sound of heavy breathing reached his ears. He moved closer, using fallen logs as cover. His heartbeat slowed, his mind calm. From her perch above, Zariah tilted her head. The human moved like a shadow. He didn't stomp. He didn't break branches. Even the wind seemed to move around him. She had hunted since she was a child, but this human made her question her own skills. When he crouched low and signaled to no one, only himself, she felt something stir inside her. It was the respect only a true hunter could earn. Ethan saw it. The beast, half hidden behind a fallen tree, its body was huge, covered in thick black fur with bony plates along its spine. 4 glowing eyes scanned the clearing. Its nostrils flared as it sniffed the air. Ethan didn't move. The wind was on his side, carrying his scent away, slowly. He reached into his pouch and pulled out a small sphere. With a flick of his wrist, he tossed it behind the beast. It burst with a sharp pop, the smell of burning plant matter filling the air. The creature turned toward the sound, confused. Ethan sprang forward, driving his spear into its side. The beast roared, twisting violently. Its tail swung like a whip, knocking Ethan off his feet. Pain shot through his ribs, but he rolled away before the claws could find him. The spear was still lodged in its side. Blood poured from the wound, dark and steaming. The creature charged at him, but Ethan was ready. He darted to the side, grabbed the spear, and drove it deeper. The beast staggered, let out one last cry, and collapsed into the mud high above. Zariah's lips parted in awe. She had expected the human to run, to fail like the others. Instead, he had brought down the beast alone. Her golden eyes shone with something between respect and desire. She whispered to herself in her native tongue, then in the human language, just loud enough for the wind to hear. A hunter like that deserves to pass on his genes. Ethan stood over the fallen beast, breathing hard. He wiped the sweat from his forehead, looking at the dark sky above. The jungle was quiet now, too quiet. His instincts told him they were not alone. Somewhere in the shadows, something else was watching. Something bigger than the beast he had just killed. Zariah stayed hidden. She wanted to see what the human would do next. Would he leave? Would he search for more prey? Or would he sense her presence? Her people believed the best hunters could feel eyes on them. And when Ethan suddenly turned his head toward her hiding place, she felt her heart beat faster. The hunt was not over. It had only just begun. Ethan's eyes scanned the thick jungle canopy. The red light of the twin suns bled through the leaves, turning every shadow into something alive. He didn't see anyone, but he could feel it. Someone was there. Someone was watching. Zariah crouched on the branch, her sharp claws gripping the bark. For a long moment, she didn't move. She had followed many hunters in her life, but none had ever sensed her this quickly. Her golden eyes narrowed with interest. Perhaps this human's instincts were sharper than she thought. A warm wind brushed against her silver skin, carrying the scent of blood from the dead beast. She knew it would attract other predators soon. If she stayed hidden, the human might leave, but something deep in her chest told her to reveal herself. A hunter like him deserved to be seen. With the grace of a stalking cat, she leapt from the branch. Landing softly on the jungle floor, Ethan gripped his spear. His muscles tense. From the shadows, a tall figure stepped forward. Her armor was light but covered with strange markings. Her hair shimmered like liquid metal, flowing down her back, and her eyes, glowing gold, locked onto his with an intensity that made him forget to breathe for a second. "You are not from here," Zariah said, her voice low and smooth. Ethan kept his weapon raised. "And you are?" "I am Zariah of the Bloodfang clan," she replied, her gaze flicking to the fallen beast. "You killed it alone?" Ethan didn't answer right away. "I hunt the way I was taught," Zariah tilted her head, a faint smile on her lips. "Your way works." She walked slowly around the beast, her eyes studying every detail of the kill. The spear wound was deep and clean, the kind that came from skill, not luck. "You track with silence. You strike with precision," she said, her voice carrying a hint of admiration. Ethan stayed alert, unsure if she was praising him or sizing him up for a fight. "Why?" "Are you following me?" he asked. "Curiosity," Zariah answered simply. "I wanted to see if the stories were true." "What stories?" "That humans are fragile creatures," she said with a smirk. "I see now they are wrong." Before Ethan could respond, the jungle shook with a heavy thud, then another. The ground trembled under their feet. Zariah's smile faded. "Something bigger is coming." Ethan glanced at the dead beast. "Bigger than this?" She nodded once, her expression serious and hungrier. A distant roar rolled through the trees, low and deep. It was followed by the snapping of branches as something massive forced its way through the jungle. Ethan adjusted his grip on the spear. Zariah pulled a curved blade from her back, its edge glowing faintly blue. "Work with me," she said, "or we both die." They moved quickly, leaving the body of the dead beast behind. The jungle grew darker as they ran, the thick canopy blocking the last rays of sunlight. Ethan followed Zariah's lead, but he noticed something. She kept glancing back at him, not in fear, but as if measuring his endurance. The roar came again, closer now. Leaves shook violently as something enormous passed just a few meters away. Through the gaps in the foliage, Ethan caught glimpses of it, a massive predator with bone-like armor plates covering its back. Its claws were as long as his forearm. They ducked behind a fallen log, their breaths heavy. "It can smell us," Zariah whispered, her voice calm despite the danger. Ethan nodded. "Then we make it smell something else." He pulled out 2 more scent spheres from his pouch. Zariah's eyes widened slightly. This human carried tricks she had never seen. Ethan tossed one sphere far to the left, and the other far to the right. Both exploded with sharp cracks and strange burning scents. The predator stopped, its head turning from side to side. "Confused, this way," Ethan said, leading them toward a cluster of thick roots from an ancient tree. They slipped inside the hollow base, the smell of damp moss filling the air. For a long moment, they stayed still, listening. The predator's growls faded as it moved toward the false scents. Only then did Zariah relax slightly. "You think like a hunter born," she said softly, her golden eyes fixed on him. Ethan raised an eyebrow. "And you fight like one." Her lips curled into a smile. "Perhaps together we could hunt anything." Outside, the jungle was quiet again, but not safe. The stars began to appear above, glowing pale against the black sky. Zariah stepped out first, scanning the surroundings. Ethan followed, still keeping his spear ready. The air between them carried something unspoken. They had just survived together, and in her culture, that meant more than words. She turned to him, her eyes shining in the starlight. "In my clan," she said. "A hunter who proves himself in the wild is honored." Ethan gave a half smile. "Honored how?" Zariah's smile deepened. "You will see." But before she could explain, another distant roar echoed through the trees. This one sounded different, and it was getting closer. The roar shook the jungle again. This time it was followed by heavy, pounding footsteps. Leaves and branches cracked under the weight of the approaching predator. Zariah's ears twitched as she listened. "It's hunting us," she said, her voice low but certain. Ethan gripped his spear tighter, his eyes scanning the dark trees. "How far?" he asked. "Too close," she replied. "We run now." They broke into a sprint, dodging roots and ducking under low branches. The predator's massive form burst through the trees behind them. Its body was covered in jagged bone plates, each one catching the faint starlight. Its 4 glowing eyes locked on them as it let out another bone-chilling roar. Ethan had seen many dangerous creatures, but nothing like this. It moved fast, faster than something so large should be able to. Zariah darted ahead, her alien speed, carrying her over obstacles with ease. Ethan followed closely, his training keeping him quick and focused. But the predator was gaining. Branches snapped like dry twigs as it plowed forward. The ground shook with every step. "We can't outrun it," Ethan called out. "Then we outsmart it," Zariah shouted back. They veered sharply to the left, slipping into a narrow path between 2 massive stone ridges. The predator tried to follow, but its wide frame slowed it. Ethan quickly tied a thin wire trap between 2 rocks, his movements fast and practiced. Zariah glanced at him with surprise. Humans didn't usually carry hunting wire. "Keep running," he said. "Don't look back." They burst into a moonlit clearing. The predator charged after them, hitting the trap line. The wire snapped against its leg plates, making it stumble. It roared in rage, tearing through the trap. Ethan cursed under his breath. "That only slowed it," he muttered. Zariah's golden eyes narrowed. "Then we lead it somewhere worse." She guided him toward an ancient ruin half buried under vines. Tall stone pillars rose from the ground, their surfaces carved with strange alien symbols. "This place," Zariah said between breaths, "has tunnels." Ethan understood immediately. If they could get inside, the predator's size would be a weakness. They darted into the ruins, their footsteps echoing on the cracked stone floor. The air was cooler here, heavy with the scent of dust and old stone. Zariah pointed to a narrow opening ahead. Ethan squeezed through, the stone scraping his shoulders. Behind them, the predator smashed into the walls, trying to force its way in. Chunks of rock fell from the ceiling. Its claws scraped against the stone, sending sparks into the air. Inside the narrow tunnel, they paused to catch their breath. Zariah's chest rose and fell rapidly, her golden eyes glowing in the darkness. "You're fast," she said. "You're faster," Ethan replied. A faint smile crossed her face, even in the middle of danger. "You don't panic," she said. "That's good. Panic gets you killed," Ethan answered simply. The predator's roars grew louder, echoing through the stone halls. It had found another way in. Zariah cursed it in her native tongue. They moved deeper into the ruins, their steps quick but careful. Ethan noticed faded murals on the walls, images of alien hunters with strange weapons. One carving showed a beast that looked exactly like the one chasing them. Zariah noticed it too. "This creature has been here for centuries," she whispered. Ethan smirked slightly. "And it's still hungry." The sound of claws scraping. Stone came from behind them. The predator's head appeared in the tunnel, forcing its massive body through the tight space. Ethan and Zariah ran again, weaving through twisting corridors. Ahead, the tunnel split in 2. Left. Zariah shouted. They dashed left, emerging into a wide chamber with a deep pit in the center. The air above it shimmered faintly, as if heat was rising from below. Zariah's eyes lit with recognition. "This is the hunter's trial pit," she said. "A place where my people tested our skill." Ethan glanced at the pit's edges. They were smooth and steep. "How deep?" Deep enough, she said, her tone leaving no doubt. The predator burst into the chamber. Its eyes locking on them instantly, it charged forward. Its claws digging into the stone. Ethan and Zariah split apart, running along opposite sides of the pit. The predator tried to follow Ethan, focusing on him as the easier prey. At the last second, Ethan dodged sideways. The predator's momentum carried it over the edge. It roared as it slid into the pit, claws scraping against the smooth walls. Then it disappeared into the darkness below. For a moment, there was silence. Ethan leaned on his spear, catching his breath. Zariah approached him, her expression unreadable. "You didn't just survive," she said softly. "You let it into the pit." Ethan shrugged. "Just a matter of using the ground." Her gaze lingered on him, filled with the same strange mix of respect and something more. "You are not like other humans," she said, before Ethan could reply. A new sound rose from the pit. It was not the predator's roar. It was something deeper, older, and it was climbing up. The deep, rumbling growl echoed from the darkness of the pit. Ethan stepped back, his grip tightening on the spear. Zariah's golden eyes narrowed as she stared into the black void. "That's not the same predator," she said. Quietly, Ethan's jaw clenched. "Then what is it?" A pale light from the twin moons spilled into the chamber. The shadows shifted, and something began to rise from the pit. At first, only long clawed fingers appeared, hooking into the stone wall. Then a massive head followed, its skin pale and stretched, eyes glowing faint blue. It had rows of sharp teeth, but unlike the predator before, this one moved slowly, controlled. It was a hunter too, and it had chosen them as prey. Zariah's blade slid into her hand with a faint hum. Ethan kept his spear pointed toward the edge. The creature pulled itself fully out of the pit, standing taller than both of them combined. Its body was lean but covered in scars. It studied them silently, as if deciding who to kill first. Without warning, it lunged at Ethan. He rolled to the side, the claws slicing into the stone where he had been. Zariah struck from behind, her blade cutting deep into its shoulder. The creature let out a piercing scream, spinning to face her. Its long tail whipped through the air. Slamming into her chest, she flew back, hitting the wall hard. The breath knocked out of her. Ethan's heart pounded. He charged forward, aiming his spear for the creature's neck, but it caught the shaft mid-strike. Snapping it in half like a twig, Ethan staggered back, the broken weapon useless in his hands. The monster advanced on him, each step deliberate. Its breath smelled of rotten old blood. Zariah forced herself to stand. Her ribs ached, but she ignored the pain. She called out to Ethan, "The eyes. Strike the eyes." He nodded, tossing aside the broken spear and drawing a small combat knife from his belt. The creature lunged again, claws slashing through the air. Ethan ducked low, rolling under its arm and stabbing upward toward its face. The blade scraped against bone, but one of its glowing eyes dimmed. The beast roared in pain and fury. Under the light of the moons, the scene became a blur of motion and blood. The creature struck wildly, but Ethan and Zariah moved together now. Her blade cut deep across its leg, slowing its movements. Ethan leapt onto its back, driving the knife again and again toward the base of its skull. It thrashed violently, throwing him off. He hit the ground hard, gasping for air. The creature turned to finish him, but Zariah was already moving. With a fierce cry, she drove her glowing blade straight through its remaining eye. The beast screamed, flailing blindly. Ethan pushed himself to his feet, grabbing the broken half of his spear. As the creature stumbled, he rammed the sharp end deep into its throat. The sound of tearing flesh filled the chamber. Black blood sprayed across the stone. Hot and steaming, the monster collapsed to the floor, twitching once before falling still. For a moment, there was only silence. The pale moonlight bathed the chamber, reflecting off the pools of dark blood. Ethan leaned on the wall, breathing hard. Zariah walked over, her steps slow but steady. Her eyes met his, and there was something new in them. Not just respect, Something deeper, something personal. You saved me, she said simply. Ethan shook his head. We saved each other. She reached out, placing her hand lightly on his chest. Her touch was warm despite the cold night air. In my clan, she said softly, to shed blood together under the moons is to be bound as hunters. Ethan's brow furrowed. Bound? She nodded. It means trust. And more. Before he could respond, the sound of footsteps echoed from deeper in the ruins. They were not heavy like the predators. They were lighter, faster. Zariah's eyes sharpened. We are not alone. From the shadows, 3 figures emerged, tall aliens in similar armor to hers, but their faces carried no warmth. The one in front, a male with dark, jagged markings across his skin, stepped forward. Zariah, he said coldly, you bring a human into our sacred hunting grounds? Ethan straightened, gripping his broken spear like it was still whole. Zariah moved slightly in front of him, her voice firm. This human killed 2 predators in one night, she said. He has the right to stand here. The male's eyes narrowed, glancing at Ethan with contempt. We will see, he said, his tone filled with challenge. Zariah's fingers brushed Ethan's arm subtly. Her voice lowered just enough for him to hear. They will test you, she whispered. Be ready. Outside, the moons hung high in the alien sky. Their pale light washed over the jungle. Somewhere far away, another roar echoed. The night was not over, and neither was the hunt. The air inside the ruins felt colder now. The 3 alien warriors stepped into the moonlight, their golden eyes fixed on Ethan. The leader, with dark jagged markings, kept his gaze sharp and unblinking. Zariah stood slightly ahead of Ethan, her stance protective. This is Korvik, she said quietly to him. My clan's most arrogant hunter. Korvik smirked, his sharp teeth catching the pale light. You bring prey into our sacred grounds, he said, his voice dripping with mockery. This human is no prey, Zariah replied firmly. He is a hunter who has earned his place. Korvik circled them slowly, his clawed fingers brushing the stone walls as he moved. I have heard of humans, he said, weak creatures who hide behind machines. Ethan kept his expression calm, though his grip tightened on the broken spear in his hand. Zariah's voice was steady. Ethan is different. Korvik stopped and faced him directly. If he is different, he said, let him prove it. The 2 other warriors behind Korvik shifted, their armor clinking softly. Zariah's eyes narrowed. This is not the time for your games, Korvik. But the leader smiled cruelly. If this human survives the trial hunt, he may walk free among us. And if he does not? Ethan asked, his tone even. Korvik's smile widened. Then the jungle will take him. A tense silence filled the chamber. Ethan's heart beat steady, his mind already assessing what a trial hunt might mean. Zariah glanced at him, her voice low. He will try to make it impossible for you. Ethan nodded slightly. That I'll make it impossible for him to win. Korvik stepped closer, towering over Ethan by half a head. You will hunt at dawn, he said. No weapons from your world, only what you can craft or take. Ethan didn't flinch. Fine. Zariah's gaze lingered on him, her lips pressed into a thin line. She knew this was more than just a test. Korvik wanted Ethan dead. As the warriors left, the sound of their footsteps fading into the night, Zariah turned to Ethan. You should refuse, she said. My people respect strength, but Korvik will not play fair. Ethan shook his head. If I refuse, they'll never accept me. She studied him for a long moment, her golden eyes searching his face. You fight like one of us already, she said quietly. But tomorrow, you must hunt like us too. They left the ruins together, the cool night air heavy with the smell of wet earth. The twin moons hung high, casting silver light across the jungle. They walked in silence for a while, each lost in thought. When they reached the edge of a small clearing, Zariah stopped. This will be your camp, she said. I will return before dawn. Ethan raised an eyebrow. You're leaving me here? Zariah's lips curved faintly. If I stay, Korvik will say I gave you an advantage. Her voice lowered. "But I can give you advice. Learn the ground before the hunt." She took a step closer, her hand brushing his forearm. "Corvix. Pride is his weakness," she whispered. "He charges without thinking. Make him run into danger." Ethan gave a small nod. "Understood." She looked at him one last time before melting into the shadows of the jungle. He watched her go, the faint shimmer of her silver skin vanishing between the trees. The night passed slowly. Ethan stayed awake, listening to the distant roars and the rustling of unseen creatures. He studied the terrain around the clearing, uneven ground, thick roots, and a stream nearby. His mind mapped out possible traps. If Korvac wanted a fight, Ethan would give him one on his terms. At the first glow of dawn, Zariah returned, her expression serious. Korvac and his 2 warriors arrived shortly after, their movements confident and sharp. A small crowd of other hunters had gathered, their eyes curious. Some looked at Ethan with interest, others with open hostility. Korvac stepped forward, raising his voice. "The rules are simple," he said. "The first to bring down the marked beast wins." He held up a clawed hand, revealing a strip of red cloth. "This will be tied to its horn. Bring it back as proof." The crowd murmured in excitement. Ethan could feel the tension like heat in the air. Zariah moved close to him, speaking so only he could hear. "The beast is dangerous, but Korvac is more dangerous. Don't let him see your plan until..." "It's too late." Ethan gave a small smirk. "I'll keep that in mind." The hunt began with a sharp blast from a horn. Korvac and his warriors shot into the jungle with speed. Ethan moved in a different direction, keeping low and silent. He knew Korvac would try to intercept him rather than focus on the beast. That was fine. Ethan was counting on it. The jungle was alive with the sound of running feet, snapping branches, and distant growls. Ethan followed a trail of fresh tracks, the soil still soft under his boots. The marked beast was close, but so was Korvac. Ethan could hear him crashing through the undergrowth. The game was on, and Ethan was ready to turn the rules in his favor. Ethan moved swiftly through the jungle. The air was thick with the scent of wet leaves and damp soil. The faint glow of morning light filtered through the high canopy. Every sound felt sharper. The rustle of leaves, the distant call of alien birds, the thud of heavy steps in the distance. Somewhere ahead, the marked beast was moving, but so was Korvac. Ethan could almost feel his rival's presence, like a shadow at his back. He stopped for a moment, crouching near a patch of disturbed earth. The tracks were fresh, 3-toed. Claws dug deep into the mud. The beast was large, heavy, and moving at a steady pace. Ethan's mind worked quickly. He didn't just need to find the creature. He needed to control the fight. Korvac's style was reckless. If he could lure him into the wrong place, it would end the same way the predator in the ruins had ended. A faint snap of a branch behind him confirmed his suspicion. Korvac was tracking him instead of the beast. Ethan moved forward, pretending not to notice. He led his path toward a natural choke point, a narrow pass between 2 jagged rock walls. Along the way, he pulled out a thin coil of vine he had gathered earlier. He set a snare low to the ground, hidden under fallen leaves. It would not kill, but it would slow, and slowing Korvac could be the key. The jungle around him shifted suddenly. A deep, guttural growl came from the left. Ethan froze, his eyes scanning the dense foliage. The marked beast stepped into view. Its body was covered in dark blue scales with patches of glowing red along its spine. 2 massive horns curved forward from its head, and tied to the left horn was the strip of red cloth. The target. Ethan's hand tightened around his spear shaft, a new one he had crafted from jungle wood and a sharpened bone tip. Before he could move closer, another sound tore through the air. Korvac's battle cry. The alien warrior burst from the trees, his own weapon raised high. He didn't even glance at Ethan. His eyes locked only on the beast. The creature bellowed and charged. Korvac met it head-on, his blade clashing against its thick horns. Ethan didn't rush in. Instead, he moved to the side, circling both of them. Korvac slashed and stabbed, but his wild attacks bounced off the beast's armored hide. The creature's tail swung like a whip, catching Korvac in the side and sending him tumbling into the dirt. Ethan saw his opening. He ran in low, jabbing the spear toward the beast's leg joint. The point pierced the softer flesh there. The beast roared in pain and spun toward him. Korvac recovered quickly, his pride wounded more than his body. He snarled, "The cloth is mine," and charged at Ethan instead of the beast. Ethan stepped back, letting Korvac's own momentum carry him into the narrow choke point he had prepared. Korvac's foot caught in the hidden snare. He stumbled forward, slamming hard into the rock wall. Ethan didn't wait. He turned back to the beast. The creature lowered its head to gore him. Ethan sidestepped at the last moment, jamming the spear under its horn and twisting. The beast roared again, shaking its head violently. The red cloth dangled inches from his hand, but taking it now would end the fight too early. And Ethan knew Korvac wouldn't stop unless he was. Beaten completely, Korvac tore himself free from the snare. His eyes burning with fury, he charged again. But this time Ethan didn't retreat. He met him halfway, blocking the strike with the spear shaft. The two locked eyes for a brief second, one human, one alien, both refusing to yield. Then the beast slammed into them both, sending them sprawling. Ethan rolled to his feet first. He saw Korvac struggling to stand. The beast stomped toward them, its eyes glowing brighter. Ethan darted to the side, grabbing a heavy stone from the ground. He hurled it with all his strength at the beast's head. It struck just above the left eye, stunning it. In that moment, Ethan rushed forward, leaping onto its back. His hand closed around the cloth and ripped it free. The beast bucked violently, throwing him off. Ethan hit the dirt, but rolled quickly, keeping the cloth clutched tight. Korvac staggered toward him, rage in his voice. "That was mine," he shouted. Ethan stood tall, holding up the cloth so the watching hunters could see. "It was the jungle's," he said calmly. "I just claimed it first." The other hunters emerged from the shadows, their eyes wide with what they had witnessed. Zariah stepped forward, her gaze sweeping between Ethan and Korvac. She spoke loudly enough for all to hear. "The rules were clear," she said. "The first to return with the mark wins, and Ethan holds it." A murmur of agreement moved through the crowd. Korvac's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. The humiliation in his eyes was clear. Ethan tossed the cloth to Zariah. She caught it, a small, satisfied smile playing at her lips. "You have proven yourself," she said softly, so only he could. "Here, in the eyes of my clan, you are now one of us." But as the crowd began to disperse, a distant roar echoed through the jungle. It was deeper than the beast they had just faced. Zariah's expression darkened. "That," she said, "is something far worse. ****. The roar rolled through the jungle like thunder. It was deep, long, and filled with power. Every hunter in the clearing stopped moving. Even Korvac's anger faded into caution. Ethan glanced at Zariah, her golden eyes fixed on the dark tree line. "What is it?" he asked. Her voice was low. "The apex." The crowd of hunters began to whisper in their own tongue. Some stepped back toward the safety of the village. Others gripped their weapons tighter. Zariah didn't move. Her body was tense, every muscle ready. She looked at Ethan. "This is no hunt for pride," she said. "This is survival." From the shadows between the trees, a massive shape emerged. It was larger than any creature Ethan had seen on this world. Its body was covered in black armor plates, but between them pulsed lines of faint red light. 6 glowing eyes scanned the clearing. Its breath came in hot clouds of steam. The ground seemed to sink under its weight. The hunters formed a half circle. Korvac stepped forward, his voice loud. "We kill it together." It wasn't a suggestion. It was the only option. Ethan nodded slightly, keeping his spear ready. Zariah moved to his side without hesitation. Her blade hummed with a low energy pulse. The creature charged. Its steps shook the earth. Hunters scattered, striking at its legs and tail. Korvac leapt onto its side, stabbing between the armor plates. The beast roared and slammed him to the ground with a single swipe. He rolled away, barely alive. Ethan darted forward, aiming for the same weak spots. His spear pierced the soft flesh under one of the plates. The monster swung its head toward him, jaws opening wide. Hot breath washed over his face. Before it could bite, Zariah's blade cut deep across its snout. The creature reeled back, blood dripping from the wound. The hunters attacked together. Spears, arrows, and energy bolts struck the beast from every side. It roared in pain but didn't fall. Instead, it lunged toward the edge of the clearing. Where the younger hunters stood, Ethan's heart pounded. Without thinking, he sprinted across the open ground. He grabbed one of the young warriors and shoved him aside, just before the beast's claws tore through the spot. The force of the swipe knocked Ethan hard to the ground. Pain burned across his ribs, but he forced himself to move. Zariah was there, in an instant, helping him to his feet. "You're hurt," she said. "I'll live," he replied, gripping his spear tighter. The creature reared back, preparing for another attack. Ethan saw it, a large crack in one of the lower armor plates. If they could hit that with enough force, it might bring the beast down. "Zariah!" he shouted, pointing to the weak spot. She understood immediately. Her eyes locked with his. "I need a distraction," she said. Ethan gave a quick nod. "You'll get it." He ran straight toward the creature, shouting to draw its attention. It turned its massive head toward him, every step shaking the ground. He dodged left, then right, keeping just ahead of its claws. The beast roared, following him blindly. Zariah sprinted to its side, her blade glowing brighter as she channeled all her strength into the strike. With a cry, she drove the blade deep into the crack. The weapon sank all the way in, cutting through muscle and bone. The monster's roar turned into a scream of agony. It thrashed wildly, then collapsed to its knees. Ethan didn't hesitate. He leapt onto its back and drove his spear into the base of its skull. The creature shuddered once, then fell still. The clearing was silent except for the hunter's heavy breathing. Korvik stood slowly, looking at Ethan with something closer to respect than hatred. "You fight like one of us," he admitted reluctantly. Ethan didn't answer. His eyes were on Zariah, who was still catching her breath. The glow of the twin moons lit her silver skin. She looked at him and gave a small, proud smile. The tribe gathered around. The elder hunters stepped forward. One of them spoke in a deep voice. "You have saved our people twice in one sun's rise." Another added, "You have earned a place among us, human." Zariah stepped closer to him, her voice softer now. "You can stay here," she said. "Hunt with us, live with us, be one of us." Ethan felt the weight of the moment. Part of him longed for the familiar skies of Earth, but another part, the part that had fought beside her, bled beside her, felt like it had already found a home. He looked at her. "And if I stay?" Her golden eyes shone in the moonlight. "Then your story becomes ours," she said, "and mine becomes yours." The jungle around them was quiet now. The danger had passed for the night, but somewhere in the distance, another roar echoed faintly. Ethan smiled faintly. "Sounds like there's still work to do." Zariah's lips curved into a fierce grin. "Then we hunt," she said. Side by side, they stepped into the shadows of the alien jungle. Hunters not just by blood, but by choice. Bound under the moons and ready for whatever came next.